Good morning and welcome to the Chamber Business Report. I'm John Phillips, president of the Palm Coast Flagler Regional Chamber of Commerce, and we are joined by Laura Gilveri here from Intracoastal Bank, along with my co-host, Kelsey Lombard. Good morning, Kelsey.
Good morning.
Laura, thank you for being with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
The Chamber Business Report is sponsored by Klein Construction, building the future of Flagler County for the past 30 years. Also sponsored by Smart Technologies. They make business easy. And Katz & Green, Flagler County's personal injury attorneys since 1996. And our final sponsor is very appropriate today, Intracoastal Bank of Palm Coast. Community banking the way it should be, member FDIC. And Laura Gilveri, as we mentioned, she is with Intracoastal Bank. She is actually the Senior Vice President of Consumer Banking at Intracoastal Bank. So Laura, let's talk a little bit about your background, how you got into the banking industry in general, and then we'll talk a little bit more in depth about Intracoastal Bank.
Well, I was actually recruited by our family banker when I lived in New York to go into banking. And I had not considered it as a career pathway, and she just thought that it would be a natural fit for me. And that was in 2001, and I have been in banking ever since. Never looked back. So she had one conversation with me at the desk. 3 weeks later, I worked for Fleet Bank in New York and was there for about a year before I transitioned down to Florida and worked for a larger regional here for about 10 years and have had the pleasure of working for Intracoastal Bank for the last 13 years.
Yeah, so from 2012 until today, let's talk about Intracoastal Bank. It's a small local bank, just two locations, one in Daytona Beach and, of course, one here in Palm Coast, up on Palm Coast Parkway. But let's talk about how the community bank got started and what differentiates Intracoastal Bank from other larger banks.
So we were started in 2008. During the Great Recession. So, a lot of people might think that that would be a very challenging time to start a bank. But as it turned out, we were able to really serve our market and our small business community. As other banks were retracting credit, we were extending credit and helping them through a very challenging time. So that was very fruitful and fulfilling to be able to help people and transition their relationships to a community banking style. And I think that community banks really, the statistics, speak for themselves. We primarily add about 60 to 70% of all lending to small businesses in the community. So at the end of the day, when people talk about supporting local businesses and shop local, et cetera, there's really no better way to support your business community or small business community than banking with a community bank because, we take in your deposits, that's our inventory, and we lend it back out in the community, directly in the community that you live in and play in and you shop local in. So I think that, we have wonderful relationships with community banks across the state. So our sister community banks, we support one another. And I just think the model is so much more personal than, the larger, different regional models are. There's space for everyone. We have great relationships with other bankers in the market. We collaborate. We have a lot of the same obstacles and issues, so we partner with as many people as we can. But the community banking model is just incredibly different and more personal.
I think based on your personality and your bank, I think it seems like a perfect fit. How did you transition from a larger, Fleet Bank, a very, very large bank, obviously in New York, and then come down here to Florida to a regional bank? What got you away from the regional bank to the smaller community bank? Because it seems like a perfect match for you.
The same.
Actually, our founding president and CEO, Bruce Page, I met him in community, and in a particular interaction, he said, "You're a community banker and you don't know it yet, but when you do figure it out, please let me know." So that was actually 6 years later when I decided to join Intracoastal Bank. They had an opportunity arise through a retiring amazing community banker. And I, stepped into that role and have never looked back. It has been incredibly rewarding and fulfilling to serve our community in this model. It's
interesting. We've been on the, recording this for, 5 minutes or so, and you've talked about someone, a lady who recognized that you should work in banking, and then Bruce Page, who said you should be a community banker. And I think both of those people are really smart people, clearly, because it's something that's passionate. I can tell. I've known that from the first time we had interaction. But how cool is that someone else recognized your skill set and your desire and things and kind of steered you into a career path like that? And then maybe talk about some of the younger folks that are at Intracoastal that you're mentoring and guiding the same way that someone mentored you.
Well, at the end of the day, we are a small business. We just happen to be in banking. And so I think that's also part of how we can connect so well with businesses is, the challenges that everyone faces, we face them too, but also the wonderful rewards are very similar. So we have been very strategic around strategic planning and succession planning for our company. Every day we fight for our independence. Community banks are, often acquired throughout the country. But we are formed as an S-corp bank, which are, the longest lasting banks, oftentimes 100 years and greater, but you don't achieve those milestones without succession planning. So we've already started that. Obviously, we've transitioned to a new president and CEO very successfully, and we have succession planning across the entire footprint. We're about 48 teammates strong, and we do have plans for the younger teammates who are coming in and then exposing them to different areas of the bank and making sure that they're very well-rounded kind of utility players because, you have to ebb and flow as the business grows or, people retire. And so far, we have successfully transitioned leadership in our Daytona office, our president and CEO role, and we just have a multitude of other up-and-comers that we're working with now, looking at sending them to the Florida School of Banking, looking for people to continue their education. So very deliberate development planning for each teammate. And really trying to leverage their special gifts because they're different for everyone. And I think that so far it's been working really well. You talk about, leveraging individuals' gifts and things like that. Let's talk about the big picture. Obviously, you've got a branch in Daytona Beach. You've got a branch here in Palm Coast. Are there big picture strategic plans for a third office to open? Are there other expansions? St. Johns County, Brevard County, any other places? Or are you guys kind of status quo and happy with 2 very, very successful branches right now? Well, we have about 13% market share in Flagler and about 1% in Volusia. So there's tremendous opportunities in the markets that we serve for us to continue to grow and serve those markets. So at this time, we are, our strategy overall is to grow through talent acquisition. So if somebody brings a new skill set to the table, then and it opens up an ancillary market, then that would be something that we could consider. But at this time, our talent base is very much directed towards this. But we do serve clients from Jacksonville to Orlando through referrals. With technology today, there's really, there's you don't need a branch. You don't need a branch to work with a bank today. So that has worked out incredibly well. We really thrive in those relationships also. And, when people think about how often you go to the bank, it's really nominal today. And so oftentimes we're coming to you. We're getting in the car and we're driving to you. Let's talk about the history of Intracoastal just a little bit because you brought up something about mergers and acquisitions and things, but Intracoastal, when it was formed, is Intracoastal today. In the past, and I'll throw out some banking names for those that haven't lived in this area. You might not even remember, Barnett Bank and Wachovia, First Union, some of those banks that have all been acquired and merged and gone away, quote unquote. They're still there. They're still enough. But Intracoastal of day one is still Intracoastal of today, correct? That's absolutely correct. And that is deliberately why we were formed as an S-Corp bank, is because we wanted this to be a continuum to serve the community for as long as, that S-Corp bank can be supported. So, it's really demand on the community. We actually expanded to Volusia because we were approached by some businesses down there that they felt the market was a little underserved in the community banking space at that time, and they wanted us to come down and serve that market. So that, that just kind of gives a holistic picture of how we want to, continue to support the market, deliberately structured in that way.
I was going to say, when I went onto your website, one of the things, kind of the credo of Intercoastal, it talks about relationships. I just want to give you a chance to talk about how you impact the community and impact the businesses that are, customers of yours. But you use the term teammates, you've used the term community, and so I think it bleeds through. Relationships and personal connections is what Intercoastal is all about.
Well, at the end of the day, there is almost a bank on every corner, and they provide deposit accounts and different lending products and services. So one of our key differentiators is going to be the relationships that we build and the resource that we can be to our clients. And we like to say that we're a resource beyond banking. If you're new to the area, we can help connect you with the veterinarians and the dentists and, those types of resources. But if you're in business, we can assist you with strategizing around succession planning and bring in the tools and resources, CPA firms. I just think that it is very important for us to understand who you are, what's important to you, what you're looking to accomplish, and how we can help leverage the other relationships that we have to help you be successful. Because when you're successful, we're successful. So we put your success first, and it has proven to be a very fulfilling strategy, but it's beyond strategy. We go to, wedding anniversary parties. We go to birthday parties. We celebrate your baby being born or your grandbaby being born. We go to your, the funerals, and cry with you. It's just a very different, deep-rooted relationship that goes beyond just, serving you in business.
Yeah, it's a culture that you've created at the company.
Absolutely, a family.
It is. It's incredible. And that's what gets you out of bed in the morning. I often say we have the privilege of helping make your dreams come true. Like when you get that phone call and that person says to you, "Hey, let me run something by you," and they haven't talked to their best friend, their spouse doesn't maybe know about this conversation, and they just are dreaming about doing something, and we go, well, let's see how we can help you put that together and achieve that dream and help you create those jobs in this community. The economic effect of us being able to lend to you and help your business grow, and then you're adding employees and they're spending in Flagler County and enjoying our amenities. It just is so full circle and so fulfilling.
Yeah, and going back to the community banking and knowing your customers, I saw this firsthand. You and I met in your office maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, and we were positioned in an office where you could see the parking lot. And I know there was at least 2 different occasions where you said, "Oh, there's so-and-so's car just pulled in and such." I was like, they don't even need to get out of their car yet. And you already knew who the customer was and we weren't talking about those people, but that's the personal banking that you and your staff, when you walk into Intercoastal Bank, I'm confident that you're going to be greeted. "Hello, Mr. Smith. Hello, Mrs. Smith," whoever you might be. But again,
that's a part of it.
I saw it firsthand.
Well, and we do have hot, fresh baked cookies on Friday, and we have coffee in the lobby. I'm just saying, there's.
I think I might have been there on a Thursday. I have to go back on a Friday now.
But I think it goes beyond that. A lot of times a bank will have one primary point person who's, very active in the community, et cetera. And we have 6 teammates that are actively engaged in different groups in our community. And then our teller team helps coordinate like our team walks and things like that. So the give back also goes beyond that. You know, it goes beyond just we're supporting, you know, your individual drink. If you want to renovate your kitchen, we're helping you with your consumer loan or, you know, whatever that is. But it's also that the community's been so good to us. We have to give back, and our whole team feels that way, you know. And then our CFO serves on the Florida School of Banking's team and goes and teaches in Gainesville to young and up and coming bankers. So I just think that mindset of always helping develop talent and always investing in our community, who has been so good to us. Like, this community has been so good to our team.
Let's talk more about that. But before we need to take a break, you're listening to the Chamber Business Report. I'm John Phillips, president of the Palm Coast Flagler Regional Chamber of Commerce. We're going to take a short time out. We'll be right back with Laura Gilveri from Intracoastal Bank.
Back in the old days, thieves would break into your business through a door or window. Today, hackers break into your business and home in ways you never thought of. Your printer, security cameras, scanners, thermostats, remote workers, and their devices. We're Smart Technologies. We know how to identify and secure your entire network, not just your computers. If you would like a free cybersecurity assessment, give us a call today.
Smart Technologies.
Call us 252-2292.
In a world where personal service and people who really care about you can be lost, we want you to know we are different. We love engaging with our clients. That's just how we've been since 2008. Your milestones in life and business are our milestones, and we are with you every step of the way. We can do everything that big banks do, but we add the community banking touch. If you're already one of our clients, thank you. And if not, we would love to be your locally owned community bank. I'm Laura Gilveri. Welcome to Intracoastal Bank, member FDIC.
This is Paul Katz, and I've been Flagler County's personal injury attorney since 1987. I brought Jeff Green on board in 2000, and we've been serving the folks of Flagler County since then as Katz and Green. Life goes on, and I'm pretty much retired now. But all the ads you've heard us do in the last 10 years, that's been Jeff's work. All those people, they've said those nice things. They were saying them about Jeff, and he deserves it.
Personal approach, professional results. Katz and Green.
Welcome back to the Chamber Business Report. I'm John Phillips, president of the Palm Coast Flagler Regional Chamber of Commerce. Again, the Chamber Business Report is brought to you by Klein Construction, building the future of Flagler County for the past 30 years. Smart technology. They make business easy. Katz and Green, Flagler County's personal injury attorney since 1996. And our guest today is from Intracoastal Bank of Palm Coast, community banking the way it should be, member FDIC. Laura Gilveri, we were talking before the break, Laura, about some of the community things. And again, it's a community bank, so it makes sense that you're in the community, dedicated to the community, living in the community, shopping in the community, supporting the community. That's where I'm going to finish, and I'll let you talk about some of the projects, groups, organizations that Intracoastal Bank supports in our Palm Coast and Flagler County communities.
Well,
and the list is long, so we might miss somebody. Just a little disclaimer.
It is. So, it would be beyond me to be able to highlight the scope of all of that. We do go through an annual process where we review all of the, groups that we want to support, and our team, every teammate is encouraged to, look for something that is meaningful to them, that they might be passionate about and get engaged in. And so, we have board members on the Flagler County Ed Foundation. I myself serve on the chamber board, of course, but also the Advent Health board, and Advent Health Foundation board. We have teammates very actively engaged in the Professional Women of Flagler County, the Home Builders Association, Habitat for Humanity, and the list on United Way. The list goes on and on. Yeah. So I apologize. I know that there will be some that we miss. But our investment in the United Way also obviously multiplies across a multitude of organizations as they apply for grants. So as we support the United Way, that also trickles down through the community. And we just think that it's incredibly important for us with our time and talent and treasure to spend time in the community and be very actively engaged.
And we love that. We love that everything that you put in just to the chamber and being on our board and your input, even with myself and growing within the chamber, coming in and kind of mentoring me, like what you talked about earlier, what you do for the leaders at the bank. I think you've definitely taken that and brought it to the chamber for me. So I want to thank you for that and everything and working with me and growing.
My pleasure. It's very rewarding to look at folks in our next generations and be able to help provide tools to our chamber organization, share best practices that we've learned along the way and invest in people's development outside of just our four walls. It also challenges me, and I've learned a lot being on the chamber board and built some tremendous relationships. And one of those are certainly with you, Kelsey.
Oh, thank you. Me too.
I think one of the things that I'm starting to learn about in Intercoastal Bank is you're in the banking industry, clearly, but you're invested in the community, and maybe most importantly, you're invested in people. Professional development and personal development has to be a core value, whether it's written down on paper or not, but I know it is, just based on what you've told me and what I've learned about Intercoastal Bank.
And just seeing her wear it. I think anywhere she goes, you can just see she's a people person and she's caring and passionate about what she does. So
talk about some of the formal professional development a little bit. That you've had and what you've been able to share with other teammates that have come to Intercoastal Bank. Because as people grow, the business grows, and ultimately we're all successful.
Well, we actually have a culture plan, and it's called Culture Wise. And any business obviously could partner with this group, but it challenged us to come up with 29 fundamentals as to who are we and people who work for us or join our team, they really need to align with those fundamentals. And one of them is be a lifelong learner. And we really believe in that. So whether it is, cross training, internally, obviously. So personally, my development, having started at larger organizations sometimes is really beneficial because they have, a huge breadth of different training opportunities and encouragement along those lines. So I was very grateful to attend a couple different schools in banking in those 10 years. And that really helped me deepen skill sets, and learn a more broader range from commercial banking and consumer banking. So those were very beneficial. As far as with our team, we have their development plans, and just depending on each individual's goals, we try to cater that plan to them. So whether it is additional schooling, or it could be cross-training or shadowing another department, and having that leader mentor them because it's not in our skill set, just assigning the right person to the right teammate to make sure that they achieve their goals.
And I think that makes the big of a difference as well. I think having the right leadership and the right mentor in place for your skill set and can see where you shine is going to make you strive harder. I think, especially knowing you have a role model to be able to look up to in those situations. So I love that.
Well, I think it takes a lot of humility. You have to be, as a leader, be willing to take that step back and know, I'm not the right person for this, and acknowledge that and make sure that you're open to handing that person off. So I do think we have a very humble leadership style from our board of directors to our senior leadership that sets the tone for that. I'm not the right person for this, but we have somebody else who is. And that's actually helped us grow.
Yeah, one of the things I'm going to use a sports analogy because Kelsey knows I use them all the time because I've got a little bit of background in that area. But you can't have 11 quarterbacks on the field. Somebody needs to be the offensive lineman. There's a running back. There's a wide receiver. There is a quarterback who's in charge, but ultimately the team succeeds when we all do our job and do it to the best of our ability. And I think you guys do that in your profession in banking because you've acknowledged that it might not be me. Don't have an ego and let it get in the way. It's all what's in the best interest of Intercoastal Bank, right?
That's right. And ultimately, the community, our number one fundamental is do what's best for the client. And as long as we always stay true to that, that's all that matters. So we always refer back to that in every situation.
Well, this has been a wonderful conversation. I've learned a lot more about you personally and about Intracoastal Bank. This is Laura Gilveri. She is the Senior Vice President for Consumer Banking. And if you'd like to get some cookies on Fridays, swing by Palm Coast Parkway on the north side of Palm Coast Parkway. Intracoastal Bank is the place not only for cookies, but for great community banking. So, Laura, thank you for your time today. Thanks for being with us here on the Chamber Business Report.
Thank you.
We're going to wrap it up here. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, folks. I'm John Phillips for my co-host, Kelsey Lombard. This is the Chamber Business Report.
Have a great day.
Have a great day.